Hi, everybody. My name is Bruce Paddington. I'm a programmer, one of the programmers for this year's TT Film Festival. We're really pleased that you've joined us for our first online film program, although we have some face-to-face at the Majula Gallery here for new media, but I think it has to be kept less than 5 people. Those who want to check out our full film listing and pay for film bundles, you go to online.ttfilmfestival.com. And potentially there's lots of tickets that could be bought, which is one of the advantages of having online. You don't have to, your numbers don't have to be based upon a physical place like a movie theater. I wish to thank all of the TTFF 20 sponsors, TTFF 20, not 20 sponsors, and partners. TTFF 20 is given leading sponsorship by the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and the Arts, contributing sponsorship by Republic Bank Limited, with Shell Trinidad and Tobago Limited supporting TTFF 20 online industry events. And with me, I'm seeing Dr. Perry Polar and Sharda Patasar with the film GANGA DHAARA, Sacred Spaces. Is there anyone, any of the other directors here? Doesn't seem so. Mm-hmm. Okay, so just the two, so we can start. So this question is for Sharda or for Perry. GANGA DHAARA, what does that mean?
Well, I'll let Sharda answer that one.
Okay, well, it's literally translated as the flow of the Ganges River. And it's taken from a Hindu festival in India and appropriated in a Trinidadian context. So really, the film looks at that flow of identity, I'd like to say, from a metaphorical point.
But in Trinidad, it's a comparatively new festival.
Yes. Yes, so it began in 1993. So in 2018, they celebrated their 25th year. And it started with Ravi, who is the head of the Hindu Prachar Kendra. His vision that sort of blends the religious and the national. So
maybe over to Perry. So why did you decide to make a film on this?
Well, I think I used to be an actor in my earlier days. I was in Hummingbird Tree. I still am a little active. I got a little piece in Green Days by the River. And I always wanted to get back into some sort of acting or in the theater, that sort of industry. It was something I always longed to do. But I work in the policy environment. And what happens in the policy environment is that we have meetings, we talk, and nothing seems to change. So once we had a project called Leveraging Built and Cultural Heritage in East Port of Spain. And in that project, it financed the film City on the Hill, of which Sharda was a part. But the directors were Pat Mohammed, and the filmmaker was Michael Molidor. And City on the Hill ended up winning the People's Choice at the Trinidadian Film Festival, I think in 2015. And I really got inspired by the power of film to change stereotypes. So I decided, hey, maybe I should try my hand at this. And I was, looking around for ideas. And I had a conversation with Kumar Mahabir. And he suggested, actually, that there's this festival called GANGA DHAARA. And he tried to put us in contact with Ravi G, but just never panned out. And it was until I met Sharda again, and we started talking about it. And Sharda was able to bring everything together, the contacts and everything. And that really inspired me to push on to make this film.
The film is quite cleanly stratified into different sections. The first part is really about how it evolved. And then you moved on to some more explanations and more widening of the clientele. Did you take a lot of time working on the script for this?
Yes, it took time for the script to evolve. We of course had to plan. How the film evolved is that we went to the GANGA DHAARA festival and we took footage. And perhaps in our minds we were thinking we'll just explain what happens at each ghat and make a very standard documentary. But then when we did the interview with Ravi G gave us his life story, and it wasn't exactly the story that we had in mind. So we really took a process, we let the story evolve. And then we decided to think about the themes that we wanted to address in the film based on the footage and the interviews that we had. And at the very basic level, it is a biographical story of Ravi G. But when you delve deeper, we start to get into what is a sacred space, what makes a sacred space, what is the length and breadth of this sacred space, how long does this sacred space persist over time, can other people use it? And the reason why we wanted to understand sacred space is that we wanted to know if you're treating a sacred space with respect, why can't you treat a non-secular space with respect? So part of it is, so how do we apply our knowledge of sacred spaces to encourage environmental protection, sustainable use? Generally, how can we make better citizens to treat Trinidad and Tobago better? So in terms of structuring, we looked at all these various themes, continuity, feminization, women being involved in religion, and we allocated certain amount of time to it, and we structured the script in that way, and we think it played out well.
I was especially interested in how you introduce the whole environmental issues. People don't normally link religions with environmental concerns, but you had a whole section on that. Yeah. Why?
I think being an environmentalist, I think it was important to make that environmental point because we are in a challenged world today. We have global warming, we have loss of habitat, and that's going to impact us greatly, and we have to create awareness. Now, what people don't often make is the link between spirituality and environment, because spirituality allows people to behave in a certain way. And maybe we forget what our training when we go out into the secular world. But we need to remember that that training can also be beneficial if we want to improve our environment. So in a way, people respond to religious thinking, and we need to encourage perhaps religious bodies to expand their view and perhaps incorporate the idea that you also have that preserving the environment is also a part of being spiritual.
The other big theme that you introduced was the fact that it's not just a Hindu festival. I mean, or a Hindu festival could also create links with other religions, especially the Orisha religion. And the Orisha, they, from what I remember, that they've also had their pilgrimages as well. I don't know if it's the same river, but so how come you decided to introduce this whole element of coexistence and support of the Orisha community?
Well, that was a natural progression because this is part of Ravi G's actual story. he, when he had GANGA DHAARA, in the first couple years, he recognized that there were other religions that had river festivals. And he invited these persons from the Orisha faith to participate. And you probably will see in the film that he was not sure, he was unsure if this was going to work. Because here you have a Hindu tradition and an African tradition, and you don't know how people are going to react. And he says in the film, he persisted. And we don't give people credit, enough credit, because the Hindu community responded well to have the Orisha community there, and they were able to find commonalities. And I think that's a lesson that we could apply to wider society, that we need to understand that we have similarities, and we need to look at these similarities and probably build a better society. But I think Sharda is able to say a little bit more on the cultural aspects with the Orisha and the Hinduism.
Well, drawing from the city on the hill, that's where we started. We had actually got a lot of insight into the Orisha tradition and the similarities with Hinduism, because they have shrines that are dedicated to deities that have both African and Hindu names, and they did for us a comparison. I think that there's a lot of link with the African religions, even the spiritual Baptists, the Orishas and the Hindus, and they all have very similar water festivals. And that I feel is important when we're looking at something like environment and spirituality, that there's this veneration of the environment in all those traditions. And like Perry said, it's how do you bring that consciousness to the general public now? And film, I suppose, is going to bridge that gap, hopefully.
So this is your second film?
Yeah. Well, second film as a researcher, I've worked on Koli Pink and Green as a music director. Oh, yes. A little bit on 17 Colors and a Sitar, but as a creative director, this is probably my first. Yeah.
Have you shown it? Has it been seen?
Which GANGA DHAARA?
Yeah. Did you show it to Ravi Ji and the community?
Yes, we did. Well, we haven't been able to do a community viewing as yet because of the quarantine, but hopefully we do get to that point.
What did Ravi Ji think of it?
He loved it. I think he's very pleased that it and our cinematographers were really good in terms of capturing the beauty of the celebration, because the thing about Hinduism is that it's not only religious or spiritual in it, it's also very theatrical and performative. So they did a very good job of capturing that, the aesthetic side of the festival. So
how long did this film take to make? Are we talking 6 months, a year, 2 years?
Probably about 1.5 years, Barry.
Yes.
We were done by middle of last year, right?
Well, I wouldn't say we're done. I think we were, the bulk of it was done, but the thing about film, it's an iterative process, and you always can go back and fine tune. And I think if I had to really say an end date, I would say early 2020. But it really took a little
2021.
Well, yeah. But I would like to say one thing. Ronaldo Matamuro and Navin Lancaster were cinematographers. They did a really tremendous job, and they put in a lot of work, especially Ronaldo.
Where are they from?
Well, they're from Trinidad.
I know. I just didn't know their names.
Yes. Ronaldo is more commercial music videos and such. Navid is a very talented musician. and he deals more with sound. But on this particular project, he was the lead videographer. Yeah.
And what is Edu Web College? I see they've got credited.
Oh, that is it's actually a school, an online school, which I'm involved in. That we're trying to get off the ground. It's not totally off the ground. So it's trying to create videos for online teaching. And you would think now in the COVID situation would be a great time to have that. But, you know, it takes a little time to get these things off the ground because you want to be able to use the power of film in teaching as well. So while we may be concentrating a little bit more on business subjects and such, I could see that how we can probably move into the sciences or philosophy or literature. I think film lends itself well to online teaching.
So what are your plans for this film?
At the moment, we already, we've entered it in a film festival in India, the 9th Delhi International Film Festival. Yeah, so it will take about a year before we know if we've gotten in. But we want to continue the discussion on secret spaces. So at the moment, we're working with Ravi G to put together a multi-religious panel to discuss sacred spaces. You know, so what it will allow us to do is expand the ideas in the film. So they will find commonalities in their religious practices on what their beliefs on secret spaces are. But I want to push it a little bit to answer the environmental question. You know, can we get religious groups in Trinidad to talk a bit more about the environment, or is that something that they don't want to talk about? I don't know, and we have to see what opportunities there are to link spirituality and environmental preservation together. From there, we'll see where it goes. But at the moment, that is the plan.
So what do you think is the audience for your film?
I think that it's a broad audience because there's so many elements to it. But I actually think that we're in a world that is changing, that we now have with the Black Lives Matter movement, you're finding younger people realizing that they need to advocate for rights and they need to fight for something. And I think now is an opportunity. I think the younger generation is actually moving away from pure escapism into trying to fight for their own space. And you know, try to create a more equitable world. And this is what our film is trying to do, to say that how you do need that you need to retain your culture, but this should not be divisive amongst people. This should be culture, inheritance. I mean, culture is the inheritance given to you by your ancestors. You need to come into the world with this and use this to improve and not to divide amongst each other. But we need to improve our world by having cultures, having spirituality, having purpose. And I'm hoping that our film lends to that.
Did you have a challenge of making the film, not making the film too esoteric?
I don't think the film is too esoteric. It's a very interesting question. We wanted it to be able to be seen as a lovely visual product. And sound-wise, we wanted it also to be something that you could listen to and be enveloped by. But we do want people to take away the deeper themes and the deeper meanings. And even if they don't catch it in the first viewing of the film, we hope to have other viewings and allow for greater discussion on the film. where we can really talk about the themes and the messages going forward, because ultimately we want a better Trinidad and Tobago. We want a better planet. So what little we could contribute as filmmakers and environmentalists and such, you know, we try to do so. I don't know, Sharda has some views on this?
No, I'll have to agree with you. In terms of what we wanted out of the film, I feel that the documentary films are still very underviewed, and it's sort of an ongoing process as to how do we make this accessible to a public that would want to view it. And, so hopefully we capture that, a bit of it in the visual elements of the film. Yeah.
The film is very beautifully done.
Yeah.
Was that part of your inputs to the film, the whole visual look of it, and the music, and audio? Because I know you were.
Music, partly, yeah, music, because there's one of my tracks that runs through. And it was actually a track that I did for the Kendra for their Ramlila production. And it fitted well with the whole theme of the film. Visually, yes. I think it captured what I wanted. The putting together of the visuals, because we had to explain to the videographers what we needed done and what we needed to capture, and they also put their own spin on it. So yeah, visual, sound wise, yeah. But Perry did a lot of the editing, right? But the initial look of it, I'm happy with.
So
well,
what is?
I think Ronaldo. Sorry, I think Ronaldo did the editing. But the scripting, the scripting.
Yeah.
I mean, every second counted for me. I was literally breaking it into sections and saying, okay, 90 seconds for each theme, and so that we'll have that flow and turnover. So a lot of work went in. There's some pieces that I wanted to hold on to, and I just said, no, I can't do it. It's just going to take 10 seconds is just too long to put it back in, because we were aiming for a 25-minute video. It went to 29. But I think we captured the essence, the best parts of 3-4 hours of footage, of interviews and that whole day footage of the festival. We really milked it to get the essence out of it and tell this cohesive story. And I think at the end, I won't give away the ending, but I think the ending, which talks about identity, is a very powerful statement. In essence, it's saying you can be Trinidadian, you can have your religious identity, and you can even have your racial identity, but one should not necessarily supersede the other. You can be everything, and nobody should tell you not to be that.
I see you credited Yar Ramasar in your credits. Were you mainly affected or inspired by his short documentary he made?
Well, I did meet with Yao very early in the process. So I pitched the idea to him. We actually started to write a proposal for funding, and I didn't get an opportunity to see his work on it, because I know he did something on it. And originally I wanted Yao to be the one to do the work on it. But I think he gave me some food for thought, and I thought it would be remiss of me not to mention him. Because I am somebody, when I work with people, I always think that we may put titles on people's names, but everybody contributes something to a project, and we really should acknowledge their contribution as much as possible.
So what is going to happen to the festival with this virus that is affecting all of us? Is it going to be put off, or when would normally it happen, the festival, and when will be the next one?
Sharda, you want to take that?
Which is the
GANGA DHAARA.
the
GANGA
GANGA
DHAARA.
DHAARA. Well, it usually takes place around May, so I don't know what's happening on the end right now. Hopefully it's still up and running next year, but we don't know. But we were lucky to capture it in 2018.
Well,
Yeah.
congratulations to Sharda, Patasar and Perry Polar. It's a fine film. I've now seen it twice, and I could well see it a third time and get more from it every time I see it. Any last comments from either of you?
Well, I would like to thank the film festival for accepting the film. I think it's a film that I would like all of Trinidad and Tobago to see. Because, as I said, we are a society that really, we aspire to live in harmony. And occasionally you get some disruptive factors, painting groups in bad lights. And we have to remember that it's important for us to find the beauty in one another and realize that we have to move forward together as a cohesive society. And we really have to see, you know, what each other brings to the table and help people along the way. So I really hope that the film inspires some people out there, that they try to work toward making Trinidad and Tobago a better society.
Okay, so Sharda, you want to say something?
No, same as Perry, and also encourage people to view the film festival, to look at, because I've had the opportunity to look at all the films in our bundle today, and they're all very good.
Which ones you liked?
Well, Avatar was a bit violent, in a sense for me, but very beautifully done cinematography. The cinematography was very good. I enjoyed the one on the Spiritual Baptist because there's a similar echo to our film in that as well. And then there's the I can't remember the other
Waters of March.
Waters of March, right, which was also very beautifully done. This cinematography in it. So I think that the festival has some a very nice lineup and some young, promising filmmakers. So I'm also looking forward to Rhonda Chansu's film, Our Watershed, Our Home, on Saturday. So yeah,
we have lots of films, and I thank you for that.
You do, yeah.
For saying those nice words about it, about the films we have. Okay, I think that's it for everyone. Until the next Q&A session. Thanks for joining me.
Okay. Thank you very much for having us.